Prince Harry today has said that he would like to see you do more to end the war in Ukraine. Do you think it's appropriate for a royal to make those comments ahead of the visit on Monday?
Prince Harry?
Yes, sir.
How's he doing? How's his wife? Please give him my regards, okay? No, I don't know. I know one thing. Prince Harry is not speaking for the UK. That's for sure. I think I'm speaking for the UK more than Prince Harry. But I appreciate his advice very much.
Which you have
Great advice.
I just wanted to comment, this idea that Trump is wrong to suggest that he is closer to Britain than Harry. Harry is the person who let down the country, humiliated our entire country in the world with those ridiculous interviews where he claimed, or supported certainly the claim, that the royal family had been racist. The important thing is this, whether you like or don't like Trump, one thing he does care about clearly is he wants people who are loyal around him. And frankly, I think Harry is the most disloyal person I could imagine representing our country. So yes, I do think actually...
Do you think Trump has more loyalty to Britain than a man who has fought for his country?
Yes, because when that man fought for the country, that's fine, and that's amazing. But I have to tell you something: he may well have helped as a tiny percentage in that war, and I think it's incredibly brave what he did. Don't misunderstand me. But in terms of the impact, when he went on and supported his wife on television, accusing the royal family of being racist, that was worldwide damaging. Make no mistake, this was huge.
Well, the royal family are but one element of Britain. It is not all of Britain. It is an important constitutional part of Britain, and people have fealty for it and what have you. So yes, it's an important part of it, but it's only one part of it. You can disagree with what Harry did, and I think I probably would disagree with writing a book about the inside workings of the royal family and the conversations you had with your brother when they thought that they were, quiet conversations between brothers. We can do that. But David, the idea that Donald Trump does not traduce Britain on the world stage in the way in which you say Harry does is obviously wrong. He has taken pot shot after pot shot at the Prime Minister. He has gone out of his way to make people look silly and ridiculous in his own eyes. He said some things about the way in which Europe has worked itself, or the manner in which Britain has, the way in which Britain now is,
with respect,
which are entirely against this country.
With respect, there's a fundamental difference. When Trump is speaking, he puts number one, 100% America first, rightly or wrongly, and so therefore he will insult. He
thinks he puts America first. He thinks he does.
Okay, but in many ways he has done. You know, it's quite remarkable, and I'm not a huge Trump fan, but it is quite remarkable that he managed to take out a terrible regime in Venezuela. And let's be honest, suppose tomorrow he pulled out of Iran and had made that decision, we're out of there in 1 week, would we all turn around and go, well, actually, there would, from an American stance, certainly, even possibly from a British stance, there are very few British, and certainly I don't think, no British and very few American deaths have caused to weaken a terrible regime being Iran.
But David,
so it's very easy to condemn from where we are.
The regime is still in place, it's different people, and Trump would leave the war with one of the most important global shipping lanes not operating. How is that a success?
Hang on. Do you think Iran is better a year and a half ago or today in terms of from a world peace situation in that region?
They've got fewer ballistic missiles. They've got fewer arms to fire at people because they've fired them at people already as a result of this war and had them blown up by the Americans. So in that sense, their military has been degraded. Their navy has been severely degraded. The regime has not gone. It is there, and it is becoming much more aggressive around the world and locally because it's shutting off an absolutely vital
hang on. Iran, the only place where Iran has been more aggressive is to the UAE. Otherwise, its level of aggression has been exactly as it was before.
What do you think some of the proxy attacks across Europe have stemmed from?
I think they have been regularly happening since the 1980s.
The uptick in Iranian proxy action across Europe, not just in the UK, but across Europe, has happened since that war started.
The uptake has been minor in comparison to the damage that's been done and the weakening of the Iranian state.
David, I appreciate the call. 03456060973. Who would you say speaks more for the UK, Prince Harry or Donald Trump? And this claim about the Falklands, honestly, who did this administration?
So apparently we have now reached the stage where certain commentators are arguing that Prince Harry is somehow less loyal to Britain than Donald Trump. Yes, that is where we are. And honestly, I think that tells you everything you need to know about how irrational some of this discourse around Harry has become. Because regardless of where people stand politically, the idea that Harry somehow betrayed Britain simply because he spoke openly about his experiences and defended his wife is genuinely absurd. This is a man who served his country in active combat. A man who flew military missions in Afghanistan. A man who founded the Invictus Games to support wounded veterans from around the world. A man who has spent years advocating for servicemen, mental health awareness, conservation, and humanitarian causes. But somehow, according to some commentators, all of that is erased because he dared to tell the truth about his experiences within the royal institution. It's honestly astonishing. And what really stood out to me in that exchange was the language being used around loyalty. Because notice what they actually mean when they accuse Harry of being disloyal. They do not mean disloyal to Britain as a country. They mean disloyal to the institution. Those are not the same thing. Britain is not one family. Britain is not one palace. Britain is millions of people with different backgrounds, beliefs, struggles, and experiences. And I think Harry understands that more than some royal commentators do. Because Harry's popularity globally does not come from pretending to be perfect. It comes from being human. People connected with him when he spoke about grief after losing his mother. People connected with him when he opened up about mental health. People connected with him when he talked about trauma, media harassment, and protecting his family. And yes, people also listened when Meghan Markle spoke about her experiences. Now, whether people agreed with every word in the Oprah interview is a separate conversation entirely. But what some commentators cannot seem to accept is that speaking openly about painful experiences is not automatically betrayal. Especially when those experiences clearly affected Harry and Meghan deeply. And I always find it fascinating that the same media ecosystem that profits endlessly from exposing royal gossip suddenly becomes horrified when a royal tells his own story directly. For decades, books, leaks, briefings, documentaries, and insider accounts about the royal family have made people millions. But when Harry writes his own account in spare, suddenly honesty becomes treason. Why? Because this time the institution could not fully control the narrative. That is the real issue. And another thing that bothers me about these conversations is how casually people dismiss Harry's military service whenever it becomes inconvenient to their argument. Did you notice that? They'll say, oh yes, what Harry did was brave, but... No, there is no but. Military service matters. Putting your life at risk matters. Serving alongside other soldiers matters. And regardless of anyone's opinions about monarchy or royal drama, Harry earned enormous respect from veterans precisely because he did not simply perform military service symbolically. He actually served. And many veterans continue respecting him for that. Especially because he used those experiences to create something meaningful through Invictus. Meanwhile, I think some commentators are deeply uncomfortable with the fact that Harry and Meghan remain globally influential despite leaving royal life. Because remember, the expectation in some circles was that once they left Britain, they would disappear. Instead, they became even more internationally recognized. Harry speaks at global forums. Meghan speaks at international events. Their projects attract worldwide attention. And whether critics like it or not, they continue shaping conversations around media, mental health, race, veterans, and philanthropy. That frustrates people who expected them to fail. Another thing I noticed in that debate is how some people define loyalty entirely through silence. In their worldview, loyalty means never criticizing the institution publicly no matter what happens privately. But Harry clearly rejected that idea. And honestly, I think that rejection came from his experiences growing up. Because Harry watched what happened to Princess Diana. He watched how media intrusion affected her. He watched how emotional suffering was managed institutionally. And I genuinely believe Harry reached a point where he decided he would not repeat that cycle with Meghan. That decision changed everything. And I think some people are still angry that he chose his wife and children over maintaining the public illusion of royal unity. Because that is really what this comes down to. Control. Harry stepped outside the system. And instead of quietly disappearing, he kept speaking. He kept advocating. He kept building projects independently. He kept supporting Meghan publicly. And perhaps most frustratingly for his critics, he appears happier. That completely disrupted the narrative. Now let's talk briefly about this idea that Harry somehow damages Britain internationally. I actually think the opposite is true for many people around the world. For a lot of younger audiences globally, Harry and Meghan represent something modern. Conversations about mental health. Conversations about institutional accountability. Conversations about race and media treatment. Conversations about protecting family boundaries. Those are global conversations. And whether people agree or disagree with them, Harry and Meghan undeniably helped push those issues into mainstream public discussion. That is influence. That is relevance. And honestly, some people confuse criticism of institutions with hatred of country. Those are not the same thing. You can love your country while criticizing powerful systems within it. People do that in democracies all the time. At the end of the day, I think what unsettles certain commentators most is that Harry refuses to perform loyalty in the way they expect. He does not stay silent. He does not quietly absorb attacks. He does not pretend everything was fine. And most importantly, he continues standing beside Meghan no matter how much pressure is applied. That consistency matters. Because after years of attacks, years of predictions about divorce, years of claims he would crawl back alone, Harry is still standing firmly with his wife and children. And I think for some people, that remains the hardest thing to accept. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Why do you think some commentators treat loyalty to the royal institution as more important than loyalty to your own spouse and family?